Hey art nerds, I am back at you with another watercolor pencil review. Today we are taking a look at Crayola watercolor pencils, and these were sent to me by Taira. Please check out her amazing art on Instagram. You guys can find a link down below. I'm going to compare these mostly to the Prismacolor Premier Watercolor Pencils. And you guys might be wondering, why is Becca reviewing Crayola watercolor pencils? Well, so many of you have asked me to do it. I had a set, so I'm happy to comply. I have a few other Crayola reviews and tutorials here on this channel if you want to check those out. But Crayola, even though it's aimed at kids and even though it's not my favorite artist art supply, is very accessible. You can find Crayola from Dollar Tree to Walgreens to CVS to Walmart to Michael's, pretty much everywhere. If you're in the US, you probably have access to Crayola. It's also extremely affordable, so it's usually the art supply that people grab first, which is why it's important to do a review of it. So we are reviewing the 12 pack. Sent by Taira. This is the older model. They look different now. I believe Taira got these through an eBay listing, so they're older pencils and they were slightly used before they came to me. That's not really a problem. I just wanted to disclose it. The packaging is a cardboard box, and it's really interesting because it can be folded into an easel and is recyclable. So those are two things that I really like to see. The 12 pack is $4.51 on Amazon. You can get them cheaper at Walmart. These are non-toxic watercolor pencils that are aimed at kids, sold just about everywhere. This is an older pack. It comes in cardboard packaging. They're made from reforested wood. These are also available in a 24 pack. They're also available in class packs. They are not available open stock, and they are approximately 38 cents per pencil. The 12 count pack is $3.99 on the Crayola site. So the easel is a neat way to have the colors accessible and easy to grab. I wish more companies had this type of transforming packaging. Now, why am I comparing these to Prismacolor? Both are sold almost everywhere. Both go for mass market consumption, and the Prismacolors performed that poorly. So I have here the Prismacolor 24 color set. These were loaned to me by Allie. I want to thank her. And I have a review for those here on the channel as well if you guys are curious. If you guys like what I do, if you find what I do helpful, useful, and informative, there are a few ways you guys can show your support. Now that my channel is COPPA and FTC compliant, it means we don't have comments or a community tab. You guys can share my videos on Twitter and on Facebook and on Tumblr. This would be a huge help for me. Whatever social media you prefer to use, if you would share my videos there, it would really mean a lot to me. Just tag me at NatoSoup, because honestly, when you guys share my stuff, it makes my day. You guys can also join me on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. This gets you early access to most of my videos, exclusive access to my monthly wallpapers, my monthly mini prints, my monthly sketchbooks, and my making comics class materials. So there's definitely something in it for you guys. And your financial support helps me to continue what I do here on YouTube and over at natosoup.blogspot.com. You can also let me know how much you love what I do by joining me on my Discord channel, The Paint Box. You guys will find a link down in the description below. So let's talk about the pencils. These are very basic. Full body is the color of the lead with gold embossing. It says Crayola watercolor. There's a brush symbol. And I don't understand why Crayola can get that, but Prismacolor doesn't understand that we want that brush symbol on our watercolor brushes. So good on you, Crayola. And the color names. And these have round bodies. And just like with so many other round body watercolor pencils, that is my actual preference. It is easier on my hand, but they are super rolly and hard to photograph. So here's a side-by-side comparison of the packaging for Crayola and for Prismacolor. The Prismacolor 24-pack comes in a metal tin. And here's a side-by-side comparison of the two pencils. So you guys can see the writing on the Crayola pencil is much larger. That brush icon is very large. And we don't have any color numbers because the watercolor pencils top out at 24 colors. It's a pretty small collection. We're going to be doing our swatching in an Artiso watercolor sketchbook. Not because I love Artiso watercolor sketchbooks, but because that's what I have on hand. So use what you got. And within this Artiso watercolor sketchbook, we have lots of other watercolor pencil reviews. We have our Prismacolor review. We have our Faber-Castell Goldfaber watercolor pencil review. And we're also going to do our Crayola review. In my Canson XL watercolor sketchbook that is not shown here, we have several more watercolor pencil reviews. So if you guys are on the market for watercolor supplies or watercolor pencils, keep an eye on this channel, check out some of my other videos, and hopefully they will be helpful, useful, and informative for you guys. Aha! The Canson XL that I mentioned earlier. So I do a lot of different types of watercolor product reviews, from watercolor pencils to watercolor paints to watercolor markers. So if you guys like watercolor, I have a watercolor basics and an easy watercolor playlist that I hope you guys will take a moment and check out. You are going to have to search for it because YouTube has removed my ability to do cards, which is unfortunate. I may have them down in the description below. So I am preparing my paper. I'm starting with an alcohol marker and I'm drawing black lines down the paper surface. This is so we can do a little bit of opacity testing. And we're going to begin with our dry swatches. The colors are opaque, a little chalky, but much more buttery than the Prismacolor watercolor pencils. They're not as dusty as some watercolor pencils, and the color palette is aimed more at appealing to young artists, so we're missing colors for good color mixing. We have a mid-yellow rather than a cool yellow or a warm yellow. We have a, getting ahead of myself. Apologies. I was thinking this was for the color wheel test, but it's not. Speaking of, I am going to have a full transcript for this video down in the description below. If I speak a little too fast, if you guys can't follow along, check the description for a transcript. So, in this palette, we have a mid-yellow rather than a cool yellow and a warm yellow, a light sky blue rather than a cool blue. We have two cool reds, the pink/magenta is cool influenced, and the red is also cool influenced. We have an orange rather than a cool red, and our violet is rather than a warm red. We have an orange rather than a warm red, and our violet is more like a lilac. So that's definitely going to influence your color mixing. Next, we're going to do our wet swatches, and we're going to use the same brush that we have used in all of our other tests. It is not a Crayola brush. It is a Princeton Aqua Elite. So this is a synthetic brush that works fairly well, and it's one of the constants that I've been using in these watercolor swatch tests. So as I'm swatching, I notice that some colors are somewhat chalky. The brown, the purple, the sky blue. This is pretty consistent with Crayola watercolor products. I have reviews of their washable watercolors, and I'm not really a big fan. I actually prefer their mixing watercolor set, and I prefer I think they have like an artist watercolor set that isn't quite as washable. Now, Please keep in mind, this is not me recommending Crayola as professional watercolor products, but I do know some people paint with it and some people do enjoy it, so I do try to review them from time to time. So, after I allowed these to dry, I noticed that some colors are more vibrant than others. The yellow, the greens, the blue, the pink, the red, the orange are the most saturated, with our brown and our violet kind of disappointing. And of course, we have no skin tones other than that brown in this set, and that brown, oh man, I don't know. I don't know about that brown for a skin tone. It would work for some people, but it is not as versatile as you would think. So it would be nice to see Crayola consider doing some of their multicultural pencils in watercolor pencils because, spoiler alert, these don't mix that well. So, speaking of mixing, let's do a color wheel. I'm going to use yellow, sky blue, blue, red, and magenta to create our color wheel. There is some dust with these larger applications. The color gets used up really fast, and I had no problems with breaking or snapping, which is already an improvement over Prismacolor. So let's wet this sucker down. The water muddies up really fast because there's a lot of optical brighteners in these. Now, optical brighteners make colors look bright and fun, but it's kind of an extender, so you get less pigment. It adds a white additive, so colors don't mix very well. It can make colors more prone to lifting. I see the point of using optical brighteners, but I don't want too many of them. Now, there are some layering issues with these in that the top layer activates and the bottom layer doesn't. This was also true with Prismacolor and with the Goldfaber Aqua. Not all colors activate. You guys can still see the pencil marks. And some colors mix better than others. So we're going to give this a chance to dry and check back in on it. All right, so I am doing a little bit of a lift test. We're just using a brush with clean water in it to see if the colors reactivate, if they migrate, and if they lift up. The colors, though, are still fairly saturated when dry, and I found that these can definitely be lifted. So these are not going to work very well if you like to do a lot of layers. Speaking of layers, next up we have our color mixing and color layering test. So I'm applying some swatches of yellow, swatches of cool blue, aka sky blue, swatches of warm blue, swatches of red, and swatches of magenta. And then we're going to layer on top of those with the other colors and try to mix up secondary colors such as orange, green, and purple. So what we're looking for is, when dry, we're looking for optical mixing. This means that the layered colors look like the secondary color, so yellow and blue would look like green. Then we're going to do a mechanical mix using water. That's going to mechanically move the pigments around, and we're looking for clarity of mixes with that. These do not layer or mix well. They barely activate at all, and a lot of the colors kind of turn to mud, which, I mean, yeah, we're using Crayola, but a lot of people, Crayola is what they can afford to use. So, what's my verdict? All right, I mean, seriously, these aren't professional watercolor pencils. They aren't pretending to be professional watercolor pencils. If you're looking for some magically cheap art supply that handles like pro, this is not it. What are these? They're decent children's grade art supplies. They're fun for doodling. They're non-toxic. They're super accessible and they're super affordable. Okay, so what about versus Prismacolor? Kind of hesitant to say this, but I really feel like they're just about on par with the Prismacolors based on the 2 unbox and swatch videos I've already recorded. I feel like I'd have to do individual field tests with them to really give you full feedback, and I don't like either of them enough to want to do that. I will say that the Crayola pencils are much cheaper, and I would not recommend either Prismacolor or Crayola pencils to an older teenager or an adult hobbyist interested in experimenting with watercolor pencils. I would recommend the Goldfaber Aqua over both of these brands, and I would recommend any of the pro watercolors that I reviewed over the Goldfaber Aqua. So why do I say the Crayola handle about on par with the Prismacolors? It really comes down to price. The Prismacolors are about twice as expensive as the Crayolas if you go on a per pencil basis, and they can be triple the price if you're going by like Walmart prices. Crayola, the 12-pack, is usually like $3.99. Sometimes you can catch them on sale. Sometimes you see them at Dollar Tree. So really your price can vary, and it's really up to you and what kind of art you're looking to make. But really and truly, skip the Prismacolor watercolor pencils. Either go cheap and admit that you're going cheap, or save up and buy something nice. The Prismacolor pencils don't really serve anyone, and they're kind of coasting on their brand recognition. Now, I do feel differently about the Prismacolor markers, and I have some videos here on this channel that you guys can check out. So I want to point out to you guys, as I've been mentioning in a lot of these videos, that this video was absolutely not sponsored by anyone other than Taira, who sent me the Crayola pencils, and my patrons on Patreon. If you like what I do, if you find this useful, helpful, and informative, you can help ensure that I continue to make this sort of content, even though YouTube and Kappa have slapped my channel into oblivion, by joining me at patreon.com/natosoup. If you enjoyed this video, if you found it humorous, if you would getting ahead of myself, y'all. If you would share it on your favorite social media. Everything becomes a tongue twister when you talk too fast. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, or Facebook, or Pinterest. That would help me out a lot, help spread the word, help educate other artists. Really, it's just a good thing all around, and I sincerely appreciate it from the very bottom of my heart. There's going to be a lot of big changes going on at this channel, and I'm going to try to be as honest and transparent with you guys as I possibly can, but really we're entering a time where there's a lot of unknowns. So any support that you guys can give me would be much appreciated. As I mentioned earlier in the video, there is going to be a transcript for this video down in the description below. If you missed any of the color names, if you want any of the links, if you missed something that I said, check the description. There's a transcript down there. I'm trying to find ways to make this channel more accessible to more people. And it was recently brought to my attention that I can actually use my transcripts as auto captioning or to help with the auto captioning. So that's something I'm going to be looking more into in the future, because offering accessible art supply reviews and art education is really important to me. I had the benefit of being able to go to an art school. I happen to know a lot of artists, but not everyone has access to these sort of things. So it's really important to me for me to share what I know, try to help others, and try to make it something that's more egalitarian. Art should be for everyone, and places like YouTube where we can share our videos freely helps make that a reality. So if you appreciate what I do, please let me know. Sometimes I work in a vacuum and it's easy for me to forget how my work can help people. So take a moment, reach out, and let me know. You can email me, you can let me know on Twitter, or you can tell me in my Discord channel. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful, useful, informative, maybe a little bit amusing. If there's ever something you guys want to see me review, let me know. I'll look into it. But honestly, I take my art nerds / patrons requests first. Those are first in my heart. Those are the people that I feel obligated to honor and serve. So if you really want to see it done, you can either send it to me or you can join me on Patreon. Alright guys, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I had fun doing this review and I hope you guys had fun watching it. Bye guys!